those, one of those leagues that's doing so many things that we can't possibly explain it all to you and brag about all of it in 2 hours. So, but we're gonna try and do it in an hour and a half, so you have time. I want to encourage everybody to get your drinks. If you want to nibble on things, you know, go ahead. Ellie?
Wow.
Yeah. And are you, oh, is it just, it's Nancy so far? I thought we were gonna have a few more people. We need to give a couple more minutes. Isn't there in that box? Yeah, don't worry about it. These are the folks that, you know, trying. Are you, I think we can go ahead. We can go ahead and get started, John. You can go ahead and start the recording.
Okay, we started it.
All right. Okay. So we're recording this meeting in case we have new members. This is a very special meeting where we get to brag and tell our new members and remind our members who've been around a while what it is that this league is doing and that we're so excited about and that we're going to be doing for the next, 6 months or more, and get you excited about some of the exciting things that our committees are doing. So the format today is, we're going to give a little presentation. Tracy's going to give us a history presentation about the league. She does a great job. Tracy, go ahead and get started. Oh, we haven't, yes, we need to do land acknowledgement. Sorry. Takes a village, right?
We collectively acknowledge this gathering is being held on the stolen and unceded ancestral and contemporary lands of the Chinookan people and the Cowlitz Indian tribe. We in gratitude to the indigenous peoples of this land, past, present, and future. With this acknowledgement, we commit ourselves to continued education, accountability, and social justice.
Thank you. So our format today is we're gonna give, Tracy's gonna give us a little history. John's queuing that up right now. And then, Ellie and I will launch into the 101. Would you call it that?
It seems like.
Yes, yes. And then, we're gonna talk about nonpartisanship for about 10 minutes, which is a complicated topic, especially like this year. And, then the committee chairs are going to do a quick round robin. All the committee chairs get 2.5 minutes. So you're gonna get to see the timers are going to keep us on track, keep us moving. And, when the yellow sign goes up, that means they get 30 seconds to wrap it up. Tell you all the exciting things. And then we're gonna go into small group discussions, and the goal is to leave the last half hour from 11:30 to 12 for lunch, sandwiches, and enjoy that. So we also, there's plenty of drinks, so we encourage you to get some drinks during the presentation. Ellie, did you have something on that? We good?
I think we're good. So Tracy will start in, and then I do have an announcement, just so you know. Jane Johnson is not here today
There it is.
to do the nonpartisan. Joe Waddell is going to step in with me. Graciously accepted it.
Sounds good.
You don't just eat it like an ice cream cone. You hold it up like this, like you're Taylor Swift. So want to remind everybody about that. So John, next slide, we'll just go right into it. So one thing that most of us know is that the League of Women Voters was formed in 1920 as a plan for the implementation of the 19th Amendment. But in the state of Washington, by the way, we gave women the right to vote in 1910. So our women were voting and we were electing officials, by the way, by the time the national vote was going on. And that was on November 8, 1910. Washington was the very fifth in the nation to pass this and was the first on the West Coast. And so Oregon is 1911, California is 1912. So the West Coast is the example, by the way, that's given to the rest of the nation about how to do it. Women are elected immediately to positions such as the auditor or the school superintendent. So next slide, John. The national vote is won in 2020, and this is our president, Carrie Chapman Catt. And I just want to mention, as a historian, that you might be a little unsure of the legacy of Carrie Chapman Catt, because as a person of her time, she has certain things that she's quoted of saying that people have leveled as racist. I just want to encourage everyone here that if you read the canon of Carrie Chapman Catt, you would not see her as being at all a racist. And by the way, her number one cause was international peace and justice. So we're very proud of Carrie Chapman Catt. And you will also notice that this is all in blue because Mrs. Catt's blue is the true color of the League of Women Voters, not purple, which would have been the opposing party that most Leaguers would have been very uncomfortable with. Next slide. Now, here we have them in our county. Our very first elected official was Mayor Hack. She was the auditor. And AAUW is very proud of their founder locally, Elizabeth Sterling, and she was the superintendent of schools. Next. So the very first meeting of the League is on February 14th, 1920. But after the 19th Amendment is passed at the end of August, our league and chapter begins meeting right away on September 23rd, 1920, held at the YWCA lunch counter at 513 and a half Main Street, which is kind of by the old Evergreen Hotel. And at the time, the YWCA is helping working women. And it has a lunch counter and it's doing those kinds of things. It's not the same organization it will evolve to be. But all the women activists in town were invited for this incredibly exciting first meeting. And Mrs. C.B. Simmons of Portland, the Northwest director of the League of Women Voters, gave the main address. And when you're doing research into these women, it's always really interesting because you'll find them listed under their first name, under their husband's name. And so, you know, what I do is I go into the city directory. And if you go into the city directory and look up the husband's name, his wife's name will be in parentheses. Do any of us remember? This artifact stayed for a very long time. Next slide. So this is are the words of our founder, Ruth Carr McKee. The League of Women Voters is not partisan, not sectarian, and does not favor a separate women's party. The League asks members to think of themselves as American citizens, not belonging to class, sect, party, or sex. Its purpose is to unite women in the general study of citizenship and in securing legislation dealing with women and children. Next slide. So here is Ruth. She is our founder. She is well known throughout the state of Washington nationally, and actually she only lived in Vancouver for about 4 years while her husband was doing a construction project, but the family, the McKees, are all over. But she herself was a member of the National American Women's Suffrage Association. She personally knew Carrie Chapman Catt. And she's very interested in Washington State. She was the first woman regent on the University of Washington. And she had I'm calling it a war with the UW president at the time. The reason why is that the president of the UW decided to tear down the women's building and instead erect something for businessmen. And she thought that was wrong. What did the women do then who all gathered together with the League? They formed citizen schools. So the very first thing was to organize everybody to get them knowing what to do to be a good citizen. Very, very much a first thing of our women, by the way, in the state was problems with incarceration of women, because there was a new idea that women should go into prisons before they had been in kind of workhouses. And the League in Washington State was very much against that. And then also very much about education for women and educating women immigrants. Next slide, which was very important to us. So all the women
Tracy?
who were anyone were here at the first meeting. Mrs. G.R. Percival, right? So we've got the Merry-Go-Round Club. We've got the American Legion Auxiliary, the General Women's Club, the Mothers Club, the Athenaeum Club, which is a literary society to the way that women at the League were doing things, or what women were doing, they were joining clubs and they were doing research and providing testimony. So the very foundation of what the League is about is what women were doing at the time. Next slide. More of them: the Music Club, the DAR, the Tuberculosis Association, the Women's Catholic Order of Foresters. All sorts of women were there, and it was very, very exciting. The League did a lot of things in the 20s, and then it tended to lapse for a couple of decades. Next slide. So, want to join the history team? So I want to talk with you about things that I do in history and how much wonder it would be if some of you decided that you wanted to be a part of this too. So one of the things that we do we do research into League history. I want to tell you, and something that I would love, so training. So maybe some of you say something like, I would prefer to be a better public speaker, and the civics department is about that, but I will help you make your slides. I always make all of the slides in the League template, and we'd be happy to work with people in terms of that and making presentations. We have archives. Archiving is very different nowadays because things are digital, so it's a different way of looking at it. Would love if you would help us curate our memorabilia, and so many different things to do for history. Would love to have some of you come aboard.
Thank you, Tracy. I always enjoy her presentations, always learn something new. You should take one of her tours through the Clark County Historical Museum. Amazing things to learn.
Sharon, I got
Oh,
technical difficulties. I'm not sharing the screen, but it's still showing up there. Also, I had people telling me that it wasn't advancing. So I don't know where that's the,
What do you got on your?
I on my screen, I've got these guys. I've got the camera.
Right, but now you need to share the other presentation.
Oh, that's okay.
Maybe that'll get it off of its.
See which one.
Because right now it's saying, where's the one that we're gonna do?
Which one is it? People's First?
This one. There we go.
Is that better?
All right. I've got. I'm gonna lead, Ellie and I are gonna lead you through the League 101 orientation. Okay, so we've been doing this for 104 years, as Tracy let you know, when we were born. And next slide.
Yeah.
Just down arrow on your,
Yeah, that's right. It's not doing that though. I think something is,
not responding to the down arrow on your
it's not.
laptop.
No, it isn't. Geez, sorry, people. Let me try something.
This isn't working?
Either is this one.
That's weird. Do you have the slideshow up and running?
Yeah. Oh,
Close that one.
That's what happens when you have an all volunteer organization.
yeah,
Do we want to do nonpartisanship? Let's do nonpartisanship while we're working on this.
Tracy told me to hold it like this. Oh. Pop star. Hi, I'm Ellie Hutton. So, sir, I'm Ellie Hutton and Adele. And we're gonna run you through a few scenarios. As we move along, you'll see what our actual nonpartisan policy is. But I've also put handouts at each table on the nonpartisan policy. So each year, our league board reviews and adopts a league's nonpartisan policy. National League offers guidance for local and state leagues to develop and review these policies annually. Our league's policy includes both statements and a chart to identify leadership roles, which are there for specific requirements for nonpartisanship. So now I'm going to hand the microphone to Jo. She's going to pose some questions for me.
You're already sharing.
Instead of a veteran today, I changed my name tag
Where?
to newbie league member. So I'm asking the
sharing.
veterans some questions.
here's,
Oh, Mrs.
Um,
You're not gonna
Ellie,
share.
veteran,
because,
I'm
you're just sharing
volunteering at a
your screen.
league
yeah,
public community event to register voters and get up about a friend who is campaigning
down to
for
the share
candidate and has campaign literature with them, stops by to say hello.
close though.
Can I talk to them about the candidate while I'm actively volunteering there for the league?
That's a great question. And what the answer is while actively volunteering for the league, can you hear me better, Melanie? Okay. While volunteering for the league at a tabling event, you're in a league representative role. And so that's where our nonpartisan policy comes in. And you would just kindly remind your friend or any other stopper by who passes by to ask questions that the league is a nonpartisan organization and that we do not ever endorse or oppose candidates or political parties. So you can just kindly say to your friend, you know what, we can talk about that another time.
Well, apparently I'm volunteering as a newbie many places. I'm a league volunteer at candidate forums, and an attendee wants to display the campaign flyers for someone. What do I say to them?
Well, when we hold our candidate forums, they are purely nonpartisan events also. And the goal of them is to be able to have anyone who's attending in person or watching on, CVTV, that we're gonna remain nonpartisan and allow the candidates to answer the questions themselves. They are not campaign events. And so any, attendee who brings campaign literature with them will just say, no, you know, can you take it back to your car or put it under your chair? And if any attendees show up wearing buttons or T-shirts or anything like that, we also let them know, no, not appropriate for our candidate forum.
Well, Ellie, also, besides volunteering with the league, I also am supporting a candidate for office. Is there anything I need to know before I go door knocking or tabling for that candidate?
As a new member, I had this question and I posed it to our then president, Judy Stanton, because I was wondering what I could do. And yes, as a member, when you choose to go out and work on anyone's campaign, you can do that. However, you never represent yourself as a league member. And so you're just purely being yourself as an individual with a political activity that you want to do for a candidate.
Well, Ellie, this may be a similar situation. I want to write a letter to the editor of our local newspaper about an issue that's really important to me. And I know that the league supports. Can I include that I'm a league member?
Nope. And the reason for that is all leagues at every level have a president. And the president is an elected person for the league. We elect them annually. Thank you, Melanie. And so when you write a letter to the editor, that's wonderful. But please do not ever identify yourself as a league member, because only the president speaks for the league. And the president makes statements, or sometimes we have public release, media releases, or sometimes we have op-eds in the newspaper. And all of those, the president are written with our communications committee, and the president and the board approves those statements before they're posted or sent out anywhere. So just remember, the president is the person who speaks for the league.
Thanks, Ellie. Well, and speaking of the president and the other board members, can you tell me the league president, vice president, folks like voter services chair, candidate forum chair, can those people participate in political party activities?
And if you look at your handout on this sheet, you will see that there is a chart partway down on the sheet. And this clearly identifies certain roles and what they're able to do. And so for the president, the candidate forums chair, the voter services chair, and the vice president, each of those roles have the most, what I would call, restrictive guardrails on their ability to be politically active members in our community with political parties or candidates. And so when the nominating committee is considering people for this, we have conversations, because people need to willingly accept that responsibility, and that while they're in that term of office, that's how you're going to operate.
Well, there are lots more members of the board than just the president and vice president. What are the guardrails for all of the board members participating in political party activities?
So for the board members, there are a few positions or a few options for them to participate politically, but they do need to seek board approval prior to doing that. So a board member could potentially be a candidate for a nonpartisan office. They can also what's the other one? I don't have my sheet in front of me. Yeah, that's all right. And so what I want to say is, when a board member wants to actively participate in political party activities, it's expected that they'll inform the board of their desire and allow the board to make a decision on that. Since the board member does not have as a publicly visible role as a president, vice president, or those chairs, that is fine. But it is a careful and knowledgeable board who will take into consideration these requests and have a discussion and consider a motion for the board member to participate in a political party activity. And what I also want to say is we do have members who are very politically active. They are not necessarily board members, and they understand that when they're at a league event or even here at a meeting, all of the conversations here are nonpartisan. And so they understand that they're wearing two different hats and they keep those hats separately. And so that's a topic of conversation that we will have on an ongoing basis. Excuse me, because, questions come up and the league really supports people being politically active.
Well, along those lines, I guess I would out our mayor, and McInerney Ogle is a league member, as are several other people that we could list. And I think maybe, Ellie, you already answered this question. Can a league board member run for elected office or make financial contributions to a political party?
And yes, as I said before, someone can run for a nonpartisan office with the board's approval, but never for a partisan office. And also, as far as making donations to candidates or to political parties, what has been kind of the advisement of the board in the past, and I think it continues today, is board members may be able to make a contribution to a political candidate or party with their spouse, their partner, a family member, a friend, doing it that way. Because what you need to recognize is any political contribution, candidates are required to report to the Public Disclosure Commission. And so that becomes a public record, and you can go and look up and see dollar amounts and who has donated. That's just a safe way to do it. And so any questions anyone has, these are the kinds of things we talk about because we want people to be comfortable, and we also want people to be willing to step up into those roles. I know 2024 is going to be a huge year. We have to elect governor and all the other offices here in Washington State. Those are all partisan, state legislators, in addition to the president. Okay. So what I'd like to say is today's program on nonpartisan policy was a presentation just to give some guidance. We will hold, I think it would be really important for us to hold another session that is just on nonpartisan. And so we'll schedule something in the future because I think we really want to have a conversation together to develop our own comfort of, things that we want to do. And so we can participate in league activities and not feel like, can I say this? It just will help us to build some framework for each of us to be able to move forward. So I hope that I'm so appreciative that you're here today, and I hope that you will consider attending that in the future, and we'll keep you posted.
All right. I think we got the tech going.
At least temporarily.
We're an all volunteer organization, so we give each other a lot of grace. Next slide. I think that's where we were.
I had it working a minute. There you go.
So right now, this is who your board is. I'm your president, Sharon Brown, vice president, Nancy's on Zoom. Wave at us, Nancy. I don't know if we can see your little hand. Nancy Halverson, Cindy Maltzberger, right there up front. She's gonna be one of our timers during the next session. And Marlene Niemeyer, am I saying it right? Is our treasurer. Oh, thank God. And our board members are Meg McNicholas, Lynn Altenheim, if you guys could raise your hand, and Joe Waddell, Sarah Bennett, Ellie Hutton, Liz Backstrom, and Janet Hedgepath, she's here, Judy Hudson, I think Judy's traveling, and Bill Whipple. Thank you, everyone. Next slide. All right, so our mission is empowering voters. I don't know about you guys, but I was an empowered voter for most of my life, so this is really speaks to me. And defending democracy. Having a democracy is not an easy thing. Our vision, a democracy by the people, for the people, all the people. Our value, we believe in the power of women to create a more perfect democracy. Next slide. About Washington members. So is that where you take over? All right, I'm gonna turn you over to our membership chair.
And I'll try to hold this. I know my voice doesn't carry very well, so any cues are helpful. So Washington State League did a study a few years ago, and they surveyed all their members, and they also chose to do some interviews, more in-depth interviews with select members. And so here are the results of what they learned from that study. And it was a study done with WSU Pullman campus. So you can see we have a lot of people have joined in the last 5 years. People come from all different life experiences and situations. People have a broad spectrum, education, whether it's, the school of hard knocks or being educated, opinionated. Yes, we are opinionated and we feel very welcome in hearing and sharing opinions. And as you will see, we value the league credibility, and that's something that's related to the nonpartisan policy. We'll get to that when we get to that slide. And also league members choose different activities that they want to participate in, whether it's candidate forums or civics presentations, or just tabling at events. Next slide. So here we get into policy. The league has 2 policies at this point. And this is National League, State League, and local leagues. So, and these policies are, well, the first one, the nonpartisan one, has been with the league ever since it was founded, 104 years ago. So the other policy that was recently adopted by league delegates national in 2020 was the diversity, equity, and inclusion policy. And so all work that we do includes and incorporates both of these policies. And I think I also spoke earlier about who speaks for the league at what level. And so the president speaks for the league, and then committee chairs, they work for the league and hold events. And so they speak. And so if you're ever a league volunteer, you just reach out to your committee chair to know what you can and can't say. Next slide. So here's the newly adopted league DEI policy. And this policy was adopted by the National League Board of Directors and was published in January of 2024. They had a previously adopted policy, but this is a policy where we have it in the bylaws, the basic policy concept, but the actual policy is reviewed and updated as needed. And National League felt like there needed to be a little bit more of a specific statement right at the beginning. And so that's where they've made it a little more direct at the beginning. Next slide.
Okay. Sorry. Looks like we're still having those technical difficulties.
Can you move the chat over?
Yeah, I can get rid of the chat.
Okay.
They said it's not.
And so
advanced.
here's going backwards to the nonpartisan policy. And so the league is proud to be nonpartisan, neither supporting nor opposing candidates or political parties at any level of government, but always working on vital issues of concern to members and the public. And this is, the nonpartisan is such a valued part of what League is, and we have credibility in our communities and across the country because we've been able to hold firmly in place our work as a nonpartisan organization, providing education for voters. And we work very hard and we strive very hard to maintain that because it is so important and held very dearly. Next slide.
3 positions on.
It's okay.
All right.
We don't have time.
Okay, so now we are off to the races. Oh, something that I do want to say about nonpartisan. There are no organizations that either on their pamphlets or flyers or on their website will say that they are a nonpartisan organization. And it's important when you look at them to look further because some of them will in fact endorse candidates. And so even though they may say they're nonpartisan, they're actually not nonpartisan to the same level that the League has always maintained. Okay, committee chairs. We have Sally Hale first. And Sally's still wearing an arm brace.
Yep. Good morning. Great to see everyone here. I am the Communications Committee Chair. Our Communications Committee handles all of the League's internal and external communications and marketing. Excuse me. We maintain our website. We produce the monthly voter newsletter that goes out to all of our members. We're the League's official channel of communication with the news media. So we send out news releases about the League's activities, such as candidate forums and civics events. We help our leadership write opinion pieces, letters to the editor, and whatever else they may want to publicize. And we work with local media to address any League-related issues that come up. We're getting more involved in working with our other committees to ensure consistency of messaging and branding. For example, we're going to help implement League-wide campaigns, such as one that the Washington State University students are creating for us to get out the vote among younger people. And we handle other projects, such as the They Represent You brochures that we do every year. I brought a stack of the new ones today. And we also do some advertising. I'd like to introduce the committee members who are here. Brenda Lilch is our webmaster. Liz Backstrom couldn't be here. She handles our social media. Gina Williams and Jennifer Rosenberger couldn't be here either, I don't think. I don't see them. But they produce the voter. Jennifer and Rick Hale update and distribute the Try brochures. And all of us are involved with lots of other projects. And finally, I would like to acknowledge Judy Stanton, who is our Yoda. She has a wealth of experience, and she's an ace editor. Thank you, Judy. So we'd love to have you join us. I have to leave early, but Brenda has a sign-up sheet. She has some handouts for you. We meet the third Thursday evening of every month at 7 o'clock. You can reach me at sallyhale00@gmail.com, or you can call me at 267-621-4718. Thank you.
I neglected to say that Gina Williams was instrumental in putting the PowerPoint presentation together. Thank you, Gina.
Go, Teresa. All right, we're gonna start. Whoa. Okay, so you by now should know the League motto, empowering voters and defending democracy. And I feel like the Civics Ed Committee, that's totally our purpose. We are here to not only educate the members, but the public. So we do that through a variety of things. We do things like school visits and senior living events. We've done programs at the library, for example, why voting in a primary is critical, or couple of years ago, believe it or not, we did a program on public banking, but it was actually a very interesting program. We also have a radio show that Tracy and I do, which I think is critical because we try to interview people here in the community and just get you some more information. I know I've learned a lot. So our committee does, like I said, a variety of things, but also I'm discovering that people sometimes have a passion for something that maybe I didn't. So if you join our committee, I will let you follow that passion. And I will just give you all the support you want. And so please consider that. We often overlap with voter services, so we try to meet with voter services the first Tuesday of the month at 6:30. And then our official meeting is the third Tuesday of the month, 6:30 via Zoom. So please consider joining us. I'm not going to try to list all the committee members. I see people here like Mary and Sarah. Sorry if I didn't think to write that down, and I'm a little bit jet lagged right now. So anyway, so you can call me 360-608-7421. Ellie, aren't you doing a thing?
yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna bother to tell you everything else. Anyway, please consider joining civics. Thanks. All right, I'm the voter services chair, but just like the communications committee has their Yoda, voter services has its Yoda. Thanks. I don't know if I can live up to that. Anyway, voter services provides services to voters, anywhere from voter registration to information sharing. And we'll educate our members of our committee too. Did you know that you can now text vote to 868-392 and find out the status of your voter registration record, or to make changes to your voter registration record? That's one of the things that you'll learn by being part of the voter services team. You can learn about this and other Washington state updates and tips that'll help you with tabling, voter registration, ways to message and engage voters. As part of the mission of empowering voters, we actively participate in formal and casual events such as Juneteenth, the multicultural fair coming up on June 1st, which, by the way, Teresa is looking for volunteers if anyone's interested. We're at farmers markets. We're at WSU Vancouver and several high school campuses around town, spreading our message then and educating voters. We're also up and down the streets of Vancouver, like the week before an election, just reminding people to vote and giving them some more education. So that's how we are pairing with or combining our services with civics education. So we invite you to join us. You'll also see our campaign out about vote, or the Be a Voter campaign, which, by the way, I have some yard signs here today. If anyone's interested, for $10, you can get a yard sign. Just start your work with voter services today by putting a sign in your yard to remind people to vote. As Teresa said, our next meeting is Tuesday, May 7th at 6:30. It's always the first Tuesday of every month, and it's online. So please join us. Thank you. Thank you, Mary. So Melanie Hanshaw, our candidate forum chair, is up next. We're going to be kicking off the election season very soon. Yes, the time is here. The primary is on August. Set my timer. Okay, and you got me too. All right. The primary is on August 6th. So that may sound like a long time from now, middle of the summer, but here we are, ready for the candidates to register or sign up. I forget the name for it. Anyway, our candidate, the file, thank you, that's the word escaped me. The candidates will file. The first, I think it ends on May 10th. So by May 10th, we are on a sprint, ready to go. The candidate forums committee is rather large. I take all volunteers. We meet 2 meetings per week, weekly during the planning session. So I have one over the noon hour that we do on Zoom. I escape work for an hour to do that. And then we have one in the evening. So we try to accommodate all schedules. Anyone who wants to participate is very welcome. And I go over the same agenda in both. The candidate forums,
If you don't know what they are all recorded on CVTV and you can watch years past. It's all there archived, so I won't go into a lot of those details. But we have volunteers for planning. We need to plan the questions. The major content of a forum is what we want to know from our candidates. And then, of course, we have all of the logistics and where the forum will be held, what dates to choose. And for that, we need volunteers who are available to make phone calls, something that I don't have much time during the day. So that's a key role, is calling the candidates and making sure we choose dates when they're available. The day of, we have volunteers to do timing. That's what these lovely signs are for. Greeters, set up. There are so many ways you can help with the candidate forums, and we welcome everyone. We really emphasize the nonpartisan, so I was welcome to hear that today. And I want to let you know briefly that the candidate, the forum committee members, you can do both. You can be involved in elections and all, and be on the candidate forum committee. I am the one who is completely nonpartisan all the time, and I will guide you on how to be nonpartisan at our events. Thank you.
It can sometimes be a good excuse to not be partisan. Sorry. Edry, you're up next.
Well, what we do as the election observers do exactly that. While what everybody else is doing the outside, we're actually on the inside as they are counting the votes and everything prior to that. And so to be election observer, you can be on any of the other committees, and you can do it as much as you want or as least as you want, because I send out a form that you can pick the day, the time that you're going to observe. We have made huge changes by everyone does a report afterwards to me. And then when I find issues or things to applaud about, I actually talk with Greg Kimsey as well as the two supervisors. And we have made very many suggestions that they have taken and used, whether it is on how observers can work, or where or what should be done to even increase the security. So it's a very important job. And if you are interested in doing it, you can, as I said, you can do little or lots. I even have one person who says if they're not filled, the positions are not filled, she will take anything beyond that. So it's very important for every election. And we also do work between elections as well. So I look forward to having anyone who wants to do something to get to know more about what goes on the inside, especially this year. The security issue is huge.
But I don't know if you mentioned the trainings in June, late May.
I was going to tell them if they came. Anyway, to be an election observer, you must go through a process through the elections itself. And so in June, there are 2 weeks where you can go on and you see a video, you answer questions, you note whether you are doing observing for the Democratic Party or the Republican Party or the League. That's in the RCWs, not League. League was the one that Judy was very much instrumental working with Greg of being the nonpartisan one to be able to be observers. And then after that, you actually get to do, and this was a League suggestion, is a tour of the entire process. And that's over a 3-week period, once a week. The time changes at that. After that, you will continue to be updated by me. And some people can say that they are observers, so I constantly update them as well. And I take the information they provide me And if I need to, I go and find out more information and return it back.
Thank you, because June's coming. Jane? You, you can maintain your certification by election observing. All right, Irene. Oh, she's got her apron on.
Hi all. I just want to do a brief presentation on the redistricting. What I did was I brought a couple of slides that Allison McCaffrey did a few weeks ago. She's the League of Women Voters Washington redistricting issue chair. So I got involved with redistricting in 2020, first by getting involved with Speak Up Schools and Allison directly, and then eventually got a little bit more involved at this local level. What I've committed to do, thank you. What I've committed to do is to attend the task force meetings, keep you all informed. And next slide, please. I'm doing that because I really think redistricting is about my power as a voter. It's about electing people sometimes that I'd like to have elected, and about having representatives who work on issues that are important to me some of the time. So I'm not going to go through the whole lawsuit that happened here in Yakima Valley. I just want to point out that the court made a decision based on certain required facts. Go ahead and change the slide. And I want us to be aware that there is a process for which that decision was made that isn't in the newspapers. So the Voting Rights Act of 1965 prohibits voting practices or procedures that discriminate. In order to do that, they first must pass the Jingles preconditions, and then the Senate factors, which is totality of circumstances. You can change the slide. The Jingles factors are a sufficiently large and geographically compact minority group that constitutes a majority in a single member district. It has to be politically cohesive, meaning its members tend to vote similarly, and lines drawn so that non-minority voters consistently defeat the minority's preferred candidate. Next slide. I'm not going to read all these off, but I just want you to be aware that they have to prove a history of official discrimination, racially polarized voting, success of minority candidates or lack thereof. Next slide. So the takeaways are the LD15 was determined to be discriminatory and was redrawn. The partisan redistricting commission failed the Washington voters, and we need a nonpartisan redistricting commission led by people. Next slide. My time is up. The redistricting task force is looking to get a constitutional amendment. Thank you. We're looking to have that happen by 2030. You'll get the handout that has my contact information. We don't need it. But we do go to the state redistricting meetings once a month, and I just encourage you to support our effort. Thank you.
Rule of thumb is one slide per minute. At least that's when I do, but. All right, so next one is Brenda. She's gonna tell us about a very special program that we have with WS Group.
Hi, my name is Brenda. I am here for Mary Austin Seymour, who is our fearless leader, but she couldn't be here, so I'm here. I'm sharing the work that she's been organizing this past academic year, both at Clark College and at WSU Vancouver. At Clark College, the League hosted a voter registration table at the Student Involvement Fair every quarter. And that was a very popular student event. So every quarter, every time we held a registration, we registered voters. Clark College also has a Running Start program, which means we're interacting with future voters. If 17-year-olds are going to be 18 by the November election, they can also vote in the primaries this summer. Most of them don't know that, and we encourage them to vote both in the primary and the general. Last fall at Clark College, lead member Alan Unell also did a presentation on healthcare reform. At WSU Vancouver, we hosted voter registration tables at multiple campus events. We did voter registration day, floats for votes, the student organization fair. And then in this past February, we invited the community and Clark College students to a primary panel discussion called "Do Not Miss the Presidential Primary." That was very well attended. We also partnered with writing and communication classes this year to research ways for the league to get more involved with campus activities and to get the younger generations out to vote, and we'll have more information on that coming soon. On both campuses, we are co-sponsoring listening sessions this spring to learn about the political concerns of the students. We do not hold committee meetings. Mary Austin Seymour likes to just send out emails to get ideas and help her coordinate things. I do have a sign-up list. I'll be taking sign-ups for both WSU and for communications at the end. And you can also find Mary Austin Seymour's email on the website. And as the web person, can I also plug all of these committees you're hearing from? There's a committees tab on the website, and you can find all of the members' names, their contact information there. So I encourage you to log in as a member and find that information.
Good plug, good plug. All right, so next one is, I think it's Janet. Janet,
Good morning. I'm standing in for Nancy Halverson, who's the leader of our wonderful Observer Corps. And if you've ever wondered what happens after the dust settles, after voter registration, voter education, election observers, well, you'll find the answer in the Observer Corps. The Observer Corps does what it says. It observes the various different groups within the government and what they do. So we have observers for some of the city councils, for the county council, for Board of Health, the library board. It's amazing how different organizations there are involved in making your government work. And what the Observer Corps does is kind of see what's happening, and they report that out. In case you're ever wondering, you can get that information on the website every time. And it's been an amazing, eye-opening thing. If you've ever just wondered what happens and how things are going in the community, because that's what it all is local politics, then this is the place for you. You really get a good education about who the players are, what the issues are, and there's a lot going on right now in the county that we need to be aware of and speak to, which even as a nonpartisan, you as an individual can write letters to the editor, you can testify in these various meetings. And those are important things to do, not as a league member, but as a citizen. And the Observer Corps helps you be informed as to what those issues are. And you can do it from your own home. Most of these meetings are televised or recorded, so you can watch them, do your report, send it in, and never leave the comfort of your own living room. And you'll be better informed. So if you're interested, Nancy Halverson is the person to talk to. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Fleming's going to talk about the Chinook Committee and the exciting things happening.
Thank you. I'm so happy to see you all here. As a long-term member, I'm always happy to be reminded of all the things we do. So thank you all for coming. Talking about educating voters and defending democracy, there's so much that can be done. I'm going to talk about a relatively new committee. It's based on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it has to do with a request received last summer from the vice chair of the Chinook Native American Nation. Yes, sorry. We were asked to support their bid to be recognized as a federal
American Indian nation. They were recognized years ago, lost the recognition in about a year. So we got together, got a small group together and worked on this. Would you go to the third slide? Do a couple more there. Yeah, there's the working team. Janet Hedgepath, who is also here, and I hope she could help answer any questions and speak to you if you'd like. Liz Backstrom, Raylene Gold, who is a member of the lobby team and lives in Seattle, and Elizabeth Kirby, who is our Oregon representative on the team, because the Chinook tribe has 5 groups, two of them are in Oregon. Then we have also Sharon involved, Nancy, and a couple of other organizations that have been working with us on this. Can you go forward here? I'm trying to be really fast, but I don't want to leave out anything important. We've had to do a lot of research. There is so much to know about what has happened to Native Americans in this country. You probably know a lot of the horror stories. There's just a lot of details. There have been laws, there have been court cases that changed the law, and it's gone on and on for a long time. What does that mean? Oh, okay. Go to the next slide then, please. Go to the next slide. Goals. What we're trying to do is to get permission from the state and the federal organization of the League of Women Voters to support the legislation. I want to tell you what's in the legislation. It's to restore the Chinook status as a federally recognized tribe. There's a lot of things, but to restore benefits that they have had and lost. A lot of other things. That tribe has no reservation. They don't get many services like health and education that recognized tribes get. So we're working on gaining support from our own League of Women Voters to support this legislation. We would love to have anyone who's interested to work with us. There's just lots to do. So thank you. Oh, mention
Yeah, is it official yet?
semi-official.
Semi-official that Susan and team are going to have a table about this
Caucus.
at the council and June 1st.
It'll be what's called a caucus, which is a meeting in the evening during council, which is the first weekend in June.
Yeah, the State League of Women Voters Council, and they have the council every other year. And in the other year, so the even years, the State League has council, and in the even years, they have a convention. Okay, I'm Ellie Hutton, and I am the chair of the membership committee. And the membership committee likes to welcome new members, engage with them, help them figure out where they can sit, what they want to be actively involved in. And so anyone who would like to help with that, you can reach out to me.
Meg Nichols.
So I'm on the nominating committee. Nominating committee. Oh, I see how that works. It's a really great committee to be on. Number one, you get to talk with almost everybody who's a member, check in with them, see what their interests have been, if they've changed, and what they're interested in now. We nominate board members, officers, and it is also a very short commitment in your year, January through May. So we do a whole lot of nominating in a short amount of time, and we check in with the members, which is always a pleasure to do. There's a lot of brain power in this room. And so that's always interesting. If you would like to be on the nominating committee, it's really a good committee to be on short term, and you get to meet the new board members before they even know they're board members.
All right, our final committee chair, Joe Waddell.
Well, you've all heard the phrase, follow the money. I'm Joe Waddell, and this year and last year, chair of the Budget Committee. You've heard so much this morning about all of the activities, and those activities are supported. The underpinning is our league budget. Every organization has both volunteers, volunteer time, things that are donated, like the wonderful food we're about to eat, but also there are expenses. There's money coming in from membership, donations, things like that, sales sometimes. And then, of course, expenses, money going out, whether it's as simple as a post office box or any other line item. So the organization has a treasurer, our wonderful treasurer Marlene this year, and that person manages the budget. But also critically, every year for an organization like ours, is a budget committee that is needed and required to not nitpick, but look over the budget. And this, like the nominating committee, is a pretty short stint. We're involved from about maybe end of January, but mostly February, March, April, to review the budget with the treasurer. And it's all tied to the activities. If you want even more information about activities with the league, partner that with the budget. And it's making suggestions and recommendations to the board about changes that need to come for the next year. So again, it's a short stint. And really, as chair and the other wonderful committee members, we're needed. And it's really the treasurer and the past treasurer that do all the work. So consider joining us all. We'll be in touch with people at the beginning of next year.
Next slide, John.
Always a test.
So this is just a brief overview of major activities that we have by month for the rest of this year. And so in May, we hold our annual meeting, and that's the annual business meeting. You know, the league is a nonprofit organization, and that's when we elect officers and board members and nominating committee members. We approve the membership at large, votes on that, and also votes on the budget. If there's any bylaw changes that need to happen, that's when we have our official business meeting. And it's very educational and it's very worthwhile. So please join us when we have that. And then, as you know, we have our membership meetings the second Saturday of each month here in this location, and they are also held virtually and recorded. We also have June is Get Out the Vote, as is July. July also is when candidate forums begin. August is when we have our league picnic, and it is scheduled for the 24th at Vancouver Lake. It's a big potluck. September and October, again, candidate forums for the general election and Get Out the Vote. November is when we do some advocacy training in our league, getting ready for the legislative session. And we also like to meet with our legislators. Typically it's in December prior to the upcoming legislative session. Next slide. So here, Tracy did an amazing job with her presentation, and this just gives you some more historical perspective as we move on to the next section of our meeting. But Carrie Chapman Cat was a founder of our organization, and you have to remember it was a 72-year struggle for women to get the vote. We were founded on Valentine's Day. So that's when we celebrate in February. Tracy talked about a different color, but the color for the league is lavender now. We have multiple strategies, and yellow roses are also associated with the league historically. And now we will break up into small groups for leader-led conversations. And the leaders have I think we're gonna do the conversations and then the food, but however the leaders and the tables want to do it, that can happen. We're flexible.
I think I needed to make a correction. It was Gina Williams that did the slides, right? Did I? Oh, good. League leadership possibilities annual meeting.
Yeah, so for our annual meeting this May, the nominating committee worked and has some candidates that are being nominated that the board approved. What we do also have is we have openings for leadership at the president and vice president level. And so we are going to be having a meeting upcoming to discuss leadership models. Various leagues throughout our state have co-presidents. It can be 2, 3. Some of them have co-vice presidents. Some of them have roles where someone takes on the role for a few months at a time and hands it off to the next person. Some of them do their work by committee. And so we're going to be discussing this as we move forward. So the current board and the board nominees are going to have a meeting this coming week where we're going to start exploring some of those leadership opportunities. So just stay tuned. We'll keep everyone here informed about how we're going to move forward, and you'll learn more all about it at the annual meeting. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we are going to stop recording because John is one of our discussion group leaders. And what do you guys want to do? We are down to about 45 minutes, and as part of that, we're going to eat lunch, and we're also going to have small group discussion.